I found this shirt after maybe a year and a half. I thought I lost it when I moved from Knoxville, but I was so happy. And I called my friend and I was like, dude, I finally found that shirt. And he was having a really bad day and he just goes, I don't care. And I was like, what? And he started laughing. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm having a shitty day. But that just makes me think about that.
What was the shirt?
It's Richard Brodigan, the poet, and my friend Jesse Feynman has this press company called Pomegranate Press, and makes these crazy, amazing zines, or produces zines, but also makes shirts and stuff.
Wow, that is a cool shirt. I like all the flowers in the top. Yeah. It looks like a great page out of a book.
Yeah, they put onto
nicely.
Printed them onto his shirt.
That's really cool.
That's kind of his goal, I think, because he owns a book company called Agony Books out in Richmond, Virginia.
That makes sense.
And yeah, it's sick.
Cool.
Want to get it started?
Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to the Nashville Artist. I'm Jordan, and today Kelton Young is here.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to my
I'm glad
house.
to be here.
Thank you for coming over.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So, where are you from?
I'm from Nashville, originally born and raised in East Nashville, not far from here actually. And I've been here for my entire life other than going to college in Virginia and Knoxville. And I love it here. It's a place where I don't want to stay currently, but a place I don't want to ever leave, you know what I mean?
Yeah, always have a place here.
Exactly.
Do you have any siblings?
I do, yeah. I have two sisters. Kayla, she's living in LA. She works for television. And my brother, Kendall, he's 21. He lives in Atlanta and is in college, doing his thing. Then my younger sister is 18, or going to be 18 in March, actually. And she's about to finish high school, which I'm going to cry super hard when she does. So wow. I'm excited to watch her walk across the stage,
Yeah. Are they also into art and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they always kind of have been, and they more so have been these days. I think with the way that, especially the post-COVID thing, where it's I want to get out and see shows and just figure out what my hobbies are and know myself in a little bit more of an intimate way. My sister's been trying to learn how to play guitar, which is great. And my brother's been making music of his own and also clothing. He has a little, not even little, just a company that he started called You Always Matter. And it's a clothing company. And he gets his inspiration from whatever new thing that he learns, basically, whatever new phrase that he hears or band that he hears. He gets inspired by that. So it's been nice to see them get more involved in the arts.
That's cool. So what kind of stuff were you into as a kid?
I was definitely into books. I was introverted for sure as a kid, so it was just nice to be at my house kind of reading or watching some show or impersonating a character that I liked on a television show. And then when I was a little bit older, I liked to be funny, but in a way that was a little bit more repressed. And that's definitely inspired the way that I exist now. But a lot of music also, I should say, that's the biggest thing. I would just spend hours and hours listening every record, every song that if somebody mentioned that I was going to listen to it, whether I liked it or not. I just really wanted to grow my sort of musical world in a not unique, but sort of specific and interior sense,
Yeah. What kind of books were you into?
I really liked, when I was a kid, I mean, there was Frisell and all the C.S. Lewis books, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe and stuff. I loved Roald Dahl. I'd probably say that name wrong,
Roald Dahl?
Yeah, BFG.
Yeah.
Roll. It's it's a weird.
It is Roald.
It's something like that, yeah, but that's okay. They're not gonna kill me over it. Yeah, the BFG and all those books. I remember anything with an illustrated cover that was longer than 180 pages. That's my thing. Who's another person? I think C.S. Lewis and I will say him for now instead of Roald Dahl. They were my two biggest. I gotta read this as soon as I get home, and Lemony Snicket and stuff like that.
What about Magic Tree House books?
Yeah, love Magic Tree House, love Magic School Bus also. Yeah, Junie B. Jones, all those books. Those were really impactful.
Miss Frisell,
dude, the homie.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So books, what kind of characters did you impersonate, or who did you think was funny?
I always thought that Marlon Brando was funny. I really liked that movie.
Streetcar Named Desire.
There's that one, and then the other one, the other really popular one, On the Waterfront. That's what it's called. I really liked On the Waterfront. Like, I just thought he was really suave, but also like kind of goofy. And then what else did I like? I really liked Aqua Teen Hunger Force, so I would impersonate Meatwad, and like all those like the really goofy characters were my thing. That and home movies. When H. John Benjamin as Coach McGurk would like, whenever he would yell, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that too. Like, that's great, you know. A lot of cartoon stuff for sure.
A lot of Adult Swim.
A lot of Adult Swim. Too much.
Staying
honestly.
up late.
A lot of staying up late. Yeah, that's why I'm fried these days, honestly.
Oh man. Yeah, I remember staying up late watching Adult Swim and like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah. Honestly, kind of a weird thing to be into, like, as a kid, but a good thing, I think, if you want to know how to be goofy, but also, like, some of the most creative storylines and jokes came from those shows, I feel like,
yeah.
You know, and I definitely wouldn't have an imagination if I was just, like, watching only, I don't know, what's an above board cartoon? I couldn't even say. I guess all cartoons are kind of, like, crazy in a way.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of buy into this fictional world that they create, and you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like this SpongeBob. There are fires under, under the sea for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense now. Yeah.
I love it. It's like, you got to be able to have that.
It's true.
Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
It only makes sense as a kid.
And that's why it's so nice to see, like, kids today, because they have this weird, they have a better sort of connection, I guess, to the actual world, the adult world, which sometimes that can be bad, of course, but I think it's good because they know how to have a personality and a creativity and a sense of wonder and joy, but they also can know that, like, okay, but it stops here. I have to, when I need to sort of react a certain way, I know how to react that way. And that's when you're at school or something like that, like, you can have that human and true connection while also having, like, this world that you can get back to if you need to take a step away from the social ails,
Yeah. What early music were you into?
That's a big one, honestly. I really liked I was into a lot of jazz stuff early on and a lot of gospel because I grew up in church and whatnot. I'm not as big of a churchgoer now, but I grew up listening to a lot of, like, Yolanda Adams and Kirk Franklin and Ty Tribbett and many others. But when I found, like, Björk and stuff like that, that was the breaking off point. I ended up becoming pretty obsessed with the idea of finding, like, the weirdest and most out there stuff that I could find, because I wasn't bored with the music that I was listening to. I just wanted to be educated in all senses of the word. Every sense, rather. And I think that finding her was the most, like, oh yeah, okay, so I don't have to just, like, do the hand clap, here's a gospel thing, and listen to, like, the Beach Boys, which, although great, I don't know, I wanted to listen to, like, rock, like, metal stuff. I got really into this band, Youth of Today, Ian MacKaye. And that's why I was straight edge throughout most of my all of my high school years, like up until college. And I got really into, like, straight edge bands, like Youth Today and Fugazi. I mentioned Ian MacKaye earlier. And I think that plus the wave of, there was a record label called Burger Records, and I think they might still be active, but I couldn't say. All the, surf rock, garage rock of the early 2000s I was very into. So Ty Segall, Mike Cronin, Black Lips. There's so many to name, but it was just, that was a really, White Fence, bands like that. It was such an important era from, like, middle to high school. The OCs, yeah, exactly. Just people freaking out on stage in, like, 2010. That was a perfect time for me, 2010 to, like, 2014. That was really just, it elevated my musical sense in a big way.
Nice. When did you start playing an instrument?
So I always wanted to, and I always felt like I would just know when I needed to. I played piano from, like, 5 to 7 years old, and I didn't mesh with it. I wish I had. I mean, oh my God, my life would be so much different, I feel like, because piano is so important to me now. But I didn't stick with it, and I went like many years, and then I got an 8-track when I got a guitar when I was in 8th grade. Didn't really play it, but, you know, tried to mess around on it, and then I got an 8-track, and I was like, okay, now I need to actually learn how to make music. So you listen to, you know, you go so long, and you listen to stuff, and you're inspired and inspired and inspired, and then you're like, I'm not inspiring like myself, you know, I'm just being inspired by stuff. Not that I'm going to be a person who's like, oh, I'm going to be the next such and such. It's just like, I want to be me as an artist, you know, and I have a voice, I have the drive to learn something, so like, why do I not? So long story short, I was probably 15 and a half, 16, and I had a guitar, I had the 8-track, just started making songs, and it came faster than I thought it would. I think only because I was so invested in listening to like outside sources, and all my friends were in bands too. So I was just kind of like the 16-year-old, like, well, I can do that, you know. Well, I can try that, you know. They did it, so why would I not do it?
Awesome. You said an 8-track?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like an 8-track, a Tascam 8-track recorder. So I just started making little dumb songs on that and voice memos. You know, thank God for an iPhone. Just because I could record something and just have it be an idea while I was at school. You know, we had a break or something, and yeah, that's made my quote unquote career.
That was in 8th grade, or
that was maybe sophomore year when I started getting like when I got the 8-track, started making songs, and then started realizing that voice memos could also be songs. And then you get on the Bandcamps and the SoundClouds and stuff like that, and Alex G's out, Mac DeMarco's starting, King Cruel's out. They're all at their house making stuff. And I'm like, that's the coolest thing. Like, I don't have a band. I don't have a bunch of friends who aren't already playing in other bands. Why would I not just do it all myself? So that's what I tried to do, just emulating people like that. You know, R. Stevie Moore and people like that. Just those who could work with what they had.
Wow. And that was like in high school when you started Dreamwave, or what were you called then?
No, it was Dreamwave then. It came out of a dream, which is the corniest thing, but that name came from a dream. And I remember sitting at this coffee shop, and like I had this little composition notebook, and I wrote down like my name, what I wanted, you know, the names of the first 3 or 4 albums to be. I mean, I call them albums in quotes because obviously you can't hear the quote 1, but 2, because they're maybe 5 or 6 songs, the first 3, but it felt like so much to me. It felt like an album to me because every teenager has so much to say, you know. It's kind of that's the thing, that's the trope of being a teenager. But I think that when you feel that way, as sort of self-indulging or like kind of naive as it may be, you still feel that way. And you're a person, you're developing in an emotional sense and like a social sense who you're going to be for the rest of your life. So it's like, yeah, I want to get this stuff down, you know, yeah, I want to get this out there because this is who I am, in quotes, but also this is maybe not who I want to be, but I want to be present in each, you know, project. I want it to be present in each project. It's a rendition. It's a version of who you've been, and maybe not who you'll stay. But you know, that did exist in my life. You know, that wasn't not real.
Yeah, It's a good way to put it. It's a good way to think about it. Because like having put it out, you can now think about it because it's from the past.
Yeah.
If you'd never put it out, you wouldn't have an opinion of how it was.
Absolutely.
There's like, I always like refer to this quote that one of my favorite drummers, they're like, are you proud of like all your past albums and past records? And he's like, I don't think that's the right way to look at it. I wouldn't say proud. He's like, I just hear all the mistakes. And I'm like, wow, that's, you know, double-edged sword of creating music, is that once you've made it, it is a past version of yourself. And then when you play it 20 years removed, probably has a different feeling.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I'm not even the same person anymore.
That's really I can't wait to be one at that age where it's like, even the stuff that I work on right now, I'm proud of it and I like it, but I want to be at an age where I'm like, oh man, like that's a thing a kid would do, type thing. But that's beautiful though.
Right.
It's like you don't have to. There's some songs that I've made that I'm like, oh man, that sucks, dude. Like, that's just a bad song. That's me just trying out something, and then releasing it. But there are some where it's like I wouldn't have been able to make a better song if I didn't have this. I need to have the lows, and I think one needs to have not even lows. It's the beginning. It's just you trying to find what your sound is, what it is you want to portray or express musically, and then developing on that. I don't know if Radiohead, I don't know if they love every album of theirs, but I do. But at the same time, I can understand if they were like, oh yeah, we were kids back then, to something I think is incredible and something that most of the people who like modern music, not most, but a great amount of people who like modern music think is incredible. They're like, yeah, we were kind of going through the motions, like this person had this problem. You just learn a lot about people's lives when an artist can go back and say, this is how I felt during this time. And that's an important thing.
And if you're honest with yourself, then it is how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about Radiohead, like my whole idea is they sold out on the first 2 records so that then they could make the better music that they really wanted to make. Because they're like, if we share the weird stuff now, we won't get the money to fund it later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's, you got to make the Hollywood thing. It's like it's the amount of stuff that who's a director? Let's say Wes Anderson or something worked on that were outside of or like Spike Jonze is a better example. He worked on these big films so that he could do, skate stuff, and he could mess around and it's just people make sacrifices so that the reward is greater. You can do just a garbage, stupid buddy comedy or something like that. And though I like buddy comedies, I've seen a lot of bad ones that led to some of the best work of artist or creator of any sort's career. It's like, yeah, you do the mural on the side of a coffee shop so that you can afford to make whatever your, magnum opus is or whatever. Like that's to use that phrase in a sort of glib way. But I think that I like that they did that. And it's also still good.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's Elliott Smith, scoring that movie to be able to make the incredible stuff that he did.
Yeah. That's why Tom York doesn't want to play Creep.
I'd be shocked. Like, I honestly, that's the thing.
It's like, don't ask me that.
It'd be scary if he played Creep. Like, I'd be like, he's in a bad way. Like, he's having a midlife or like post-midlife crisis if he started playing songs from that record again.
He's kind of an intimidating dude.
He is. He's very serious. I like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
He's like quiet,
strong, silent type.
Yeah. Who's the guy? The Strokes. This is stupid that I don't remember his
Julian
name.
Casablancas?
Not Strokes, but they're one of the biggest bands in the world. I can't remember their name. Oasis. He's like a quiet. Liam. There we go.
Liam,
Jesus Christ, that's crazy. Yeah. He has the same level of intensity and knows he's a rock star and knows that he.
That's true. He does. Liam does. Last time I saw an interview, it was like 2003 or something, and he was like in a window or something. There was all these fans behind him.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like so on point, so confident, and you're just like, man, he knows he's.
Yeah, he gets it. It's you're the biggest band in the world, dude. He's like, yeah, I know. Like that's what we were trying to do.
And he's like, I'm competing with my blood.
Yeah,
my brother.
Exactly.
No one else.
Mm-hmm. And that's like, of course, I'm like, yeah, you're kind of a douche, dude. But at the same time, it's like I respect that he can understand that, say that, and then keep delivering, which is what Tom York does, but in a more silent way.
Right. Tom York doesn't want the glitz and the glam.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you know who I am?
Yeah, exactly.
He's the depressed guy who's like, I really didn't know who I was. So, In school, you said like 16, started making music, and that's like when Dreamwave came about.
Mm-hmm.
Did you play music in school, or?
Yeah, we had a class. I went to Hillwood High School, and we had a class called Rock Band. And my teacher, may he rest in peace, he was like one of my favorite people. This guy, Mr. Rains, he was very, he was like almost serious, but like when you got on his good side, he was really funny and like just kind of joked around. And the people who, so there was a guitar class that I had with a great teacher, but the students didn't really care. So I didn't learn any guitar in my class. It was all outside of school that I learned guitar. But we had him, Mr. Sierra is his name. He's a great guy. And then I had Mr. Rains, where the people who cared and like really wanted to, hone their craft, as it were in Rock Band. And he just, I don't know, I guess he saw that I was like having fun and I really wanted to learn stuff. And I wanted to hear about he used to play in Memphis and stuff and on Beale Street. And I wanted to learn about all that. And he kind of took me under his wing in a way. And that was like when I first started to really be excited about playing music. Like always loved watching it, of course, went to shows like every week and every weekend. But that was when, okay, I think that I can have some fun and also let out some of the weird anxieties or something that I feel within, through this medium.
What song, why was it called Rock Band, did you work on?
So it was literally just like two guitar players, a bass player, a keyboard player, and a drummer who all were, nobody was good. That's not true. Some of the people were okay. I was not good, but some of the people were okay, like pretty good. But at the same time, it was all people who wanted to learn. So there were some days where he just came in and was like, oh, Jesus Christ, like I got to do this class again. I got to teach this again. But we would switch around the performers, and we would just play different popular songs. And every week somebody would come in with a new song that they wanted to do, like, oh, let's do, I don't know, some Stroke song or some like Death Cab for Cutie song, I don't know. But we'd try to learn it and we'd do our best, but it wasn't always great, is what I'm trying to say. And we'd have like this end of the year little showcase where we'd all play our songs and like the ones that we picked, and we'd switch instruments and stuff. And it's silly, and it's like, it was kind of a ragtag sort of thing, but it was fun and it was impactful. And it made me want to play in bands with people, so I credit it like that most, other than like me as a kid listening to music in my room. That's definitely the thing where it's like, okay, I like collaborating with people,
Nice. Were there any early guitar players in high school that you looked up to? Or?
A lot. The top, I think, would be like, I really like this guy, Kurt Rosenwinkel. He's a jazz player. I really like, the Hendrixes and people like that. I really like Eric Clapton, all those people. But the people who made me want to actually play, those people made me not want to play because they were just so good. But the people who were making an art of it, like Bill Frisell, that's a guy who I really just, hearing him and being like, oh, this is not anything like the jazz that I know.
I love Bill Burford.
Yeah, exactly. Same. Him, John Scofield, like all those people, like Pat Metheny, of course. Early, like Pat Metheny, when he was still getting his legs under him, there's him playing with Joni Mitchell and Jocko and stuff on one of her record. I forgot what that record's called, but that was him when he was 21, 22, and just ripping and playing such creative stuff and such thought-provoking stuff where it's like in a melodic sense where you are like, oh, that's what he went with. Like I would have thought he would have gone, that type of thing. And those are the guitar players who I think are just cream of the crop. And also, it's so bad when I don't remember the person, but I'm also like compelled to say something about them. There's one other person that I'm forgetting. I'll remember later in this.
Okay, cool. Did you study music in college?
No. I studied, honestly, pretty much everything else but music.
Really?
Yeah, I've studied psychology, and I've studied visual arts, I've gone all over. I'm a disorganized guy, we talked about this earlier.
No worries.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on, but No, never studied music because I didn't want it to not be fun.
I understand.
But I think it still could have been if I just looked at it a different way. Just as an 18-year-old kid, you're like, oh, I just want to have fun playing music, and I'm playing with my friends. And now, as an almost 25-year-old, I'm like, man, I really could have been making some really creative stuff if I would have just like taken the time to sit down and learn. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, but short answer, no.
So, why would you say you're drawn to music or art?
I think because I've always, going back to the beginning of this conversation, I've always kind of known that it's fun to just do something that's a little bit, off the beaten path, and I just like doing creative stuff. It's just, that's how I feel. If I didn't, then I wouldn't do it, because I'm a very like sort of driven, matter of fact, straight to the point person. And if I don't like something that is happening or occurring in front of me or in my life, then I'm like, I would need to try to do something effective to change it. And I didn't like the fact that I wasn't doing anything. I mean, literally anything. I was reading and hanging out, but I knew that I had this craving for creativity, but I was kind of just like sitting on my hands being like, well, yeah, everybody's doing it and that's cool. And then one day I was just, why would I not also be doing the thing that's making me the happiest,
Yeah. Was there any one day that you were like, I found it and I feel rest assured?
No, that day still hasn't come.
That's true.
Yeah. I'm begging for that day.
Right.
But it's nice because you keep working towards it. And
absolutely. How do you develop your artistic skills? Yeah.
Now it's funny. I do a lot more listening. I feel like a kid again. Like I've been just anything and everything. It could be 80s Japanese grindcore, or it could be like George Jones or something. I'm trying to sprawl the megahertz. Like I'm trying to get all the way through the deep world. This is not being well said, but I really just want to know every song, basically, which of course is impossible, but I just love being inspired by other people's stuff. And there are moments where I'm practicing and I'm just playing guitar, and it's like, okay, I can't be listening to a bunch of music all the time. I need to write something. And an idea will come out, and I'm like, oh, that's not, that's not me. Like, that's this thing. It's a double-edged sword, because it's good for me because I'm learning, but it's also like, oh, well, now I have imposter syndrome. Now I'm just being, and I'm doing what they're doing. And it's good to have the combo of both, though, because it makes you work a little bit harder.
Nice. So do you, like, when you're sitting at home, do you ever practice the guitar, or is it usually just writing? Or
these days, it used to be that I try to learn songs and, do covers and stuff like that. But these days, it's been a lot of just writing, just trying to figure out. I mean, it's not that I don't have time to practice, and because even in that, it's practicing, but I don't have the time to practice in a way that's effective for my, shredding ability, basically, or my true, having a good musical sense of, a certain genre. Like, if you had asked me to play a country gig, I'd be like, sorry, can't help you, And that's just a real thing. But if you asked me to play, a duo dream pop gig, oh, sign me up, dude. Just tell me how much, where do I gotta go? Because that's what I do. That's what I know, and that's what I like to play. Not even what I care about, which is what I was gonna say, but it's what I like to play, because I care about all music. That's what I'm drawn to. I like Yola Tango and all those bands, Teeth and any of the slowcore, all that stuff, man. I just think it's more fun. Yeah, in a way, in a sort of adjacent sense, yeah.
Yeah. That is 2010 plus, that was strong. Like you said, yeah, 2010, 2014.
That was a heavy period, dude. There were some bangers getting put out, dude. Oh my god.
I mean, even early Tame Impala. I remember seeing Tame Impala in 2013. He was playing his weirder stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's crazy. There were those. That was a period where I was sitting in like math class or something in high school and just listening to, real estate or something.
Oh, yeah.
And getting in trouble and having like, put your phone up type thing. That's the shit that makes you, man. That's what makes you interested in stuff. It's like I want to get in trouble because I'm listening to something that I love.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Man, hell yeah, real estate, dude. Love them, dude. I've seen them live at Bonnaroo. It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was a day show.
Mm-hmm.
How you'd want it. You wouldn't want it to be at night.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
They're a day show band.
Yeah.
They're definitely a day show gig for sure.
Cool. So of all time, who are some of your favorite bands and artists?
That's always. I'm sure that anybody who've asked that has done the same thing.
Yeah, I know.
That's a hard question. I love Stereolab. That just comes to mind first. Laetitia Chaudier, I think she's like one of the seminal writers and singers. What's her name? Laetitia Chaudier. I remember I was at a Pitchfork in Chicago. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. And there was somebody played and then it started raining. So everybody's like, oh, we'll go back for a second and like try to wait it out. And it like immediately stopped. One of those Nashville rains, like the same way it happens here where it's just like 5 minutes of raining and then it's just a beautiful day. So that happened in Chicago. And it was like, oh, Stereolab's going up now. Like, you guys got to come back. I remember we all like jumped on this train. We were like pushing people. And then we get the train back just in time. Clouds part, sun shining. And they're playing like one of my favorite songs. And it was just a tear, it ran down. I was like, this is like one of the best experiences I've had, So definitely them. Who else do I just love? I'm gonna just cheat. I'm gonna look at my Spotify or something.
Look at your Spotify.
But no, I've often sort of claimed them as my favorite band. Gillian Welch, love her. Karen Dalton. Like Stevie Wonder. Like, there are the people who are obvious, like Stevie Wonder and certain jazz quartets. And then I really like Vic Chestnut also. That's a person who just had such a hard life, but was so funny and like charismatic and made music that was not only from the heart, but was poetic in a sense that was heart-wrenching, but also made you like thought-provoking and not self-aggrandizing, He wasn't like, woe is me. He was like, woe is, just exists. That's like the most me smoking a fucking pipe, woe is. That's me, an NYU philosophy student thing to say. But he just understood that things were kind of a bummer sometimes, and you had to just get through them. And for that, I really liked this stuff. Yeah. But those are a few, there are so many.
Vic Chestnut, is that his own band? It's just Vic Chestnut?
Yeah, just him, and like he was rendered a paraplegic at, I think it was 18, and just went through life playing solo songs and kind of talking about his romantic escapades, to use that word, I guess, and his general sadness about the situation that he was in, but also was like in a, not even political, I would just say like in a social sense, just the way that people interact. And he did it in a way it was full of humor and full of grace, and I think that was what made him really special, in the same way or in a similar sense as like Daniel Johnston or something, just that matter of fact, it's not even a character at this point, this is just like how I feel, but it feels like a character because it's so honest, and people aren't used to that,
Wow. Yeah. The truth will set you free.
Yeah, it seemed as though it did,
So, where do you find inspiration?
Everywhere. I mean, I really used to be sort of like this is not doom and gloom, like, not to go that far, but I think that I used to be kind of like, I gotta watch this sad stuff and listen to this sad album when I was like a high schooler. But now I'm like, man, I'm watching baby videos or like dads coming back from war and kids coming in and hugging them. You know, the most like above board content, and it's making me cry. Or like babies saying their first word and the mom cries. Like that's starting to inspire me. I don't want to be a pessimist. You know, I don't want to be this weird sort of like having this masturbatory rather. View of my own sadness or whatever. I'm like, I want to laugh, dude.
Right.
I'm gonna try to laugh. That's it. Like, I'm trying to be silly. That's all.
I'm dying tomorrow.
You know, literally, yeah. I gotta be the silliest I can before I go. Yeah, I just think that. And then also there are the moments where I listen to like a record that's super heartfelt and like talking about things that are hard to talk about in a general conversation. And I'm inspired by that. You know, that's, again, Elliott Smith, to mention him again. Like, I love the directness of that, because sometimes you just want to tell people, hey, I'm bummed, hey, I'm upset, you know. And that's why I like metal and all those other, you know, subgenres, the insane genre and subgenres of metal, because yeah, I mean, I get pissed off, everybody does, but I think to express it in that way, and then also be the metal guys that I know, calmest, sweetest dudes. Like when you're just talking to them, and they're on stage, they're punching stuff in the face, they're, you know, like bloody and shit. And they get off, they're like, oh, thank you so much. That's, you know, like that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. Like, I won't shake your hand, sorry, there's blood on it, but thank you. Yeah. They're really, I like that duality. I like to have that juxtaposition, because everybody gets upset. It's like, I don't want it to be this, you know, super, oh, I can't believe you responded that way. You know, I mean, violence is one thing, of course, but like, yeah, I'm pissed off. I'm gonna, like, you know, whatever. But don't be a dick is the thing. That's, what was the question?
Oh, we were just talking about like Elliott Smith and like pessimism and like, where do you find inspiration?
Yeah. Basically, I find it in most things, even in people who are, you know, sort of aggressive in a way that's too much. Like, I find in them too, because I try to not do that. It can happen, but you know.
Right. It's like this person's like royally screwed their life up. It's like, have them sit down, tell you what happened, write down what happened, and don't do that.
And then you don't do that thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that number of things.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah.
And yet they'll go too far and become a pessimist because they live an awful life.
It's, you know, I think it was like Conan O'Brien who said like cynicism is boring. Like, well, he basically, like, after he got replaced, like, he replaced Jay Leno and then got replaced again. He was talking about, you know, people were super upset about him getting bumped after like his big break, quote unquote. And he's like, don't be cynical. Like, that's just not the, and it's true. Anybody could look and be like, oh, perfect family, like the, you know, sweet dog and great. Yeah, who cares?
Right, who cares?
You know,
who cares? The pessimist will not look at the sunset. They'll look at the specks on the window.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it doesn't do good for anyone. It doesn't help anybody.
Drained.
It drains. And everybody has the moments, of course,
sure.
where it's like, I can be cynical, I can be pessimistic, but I don't want to describe myself as that thing, you know?
Yeah, for sure. What are your strengths and weaknesses as an artist?
Strengths, I'd say my love just for art in general, any medium. The usage of literature, poetry, something like that within the art, so that the lyrics don't become just like woe is me, doom and gloom thing. And knowing my weaknesses. So my weaknesses are much more, they're many more than my strengths, though we just had this pessimism conversation. I'm not lazy. I just, if I'm faced with like a blockage in my creativity, I'll get mad. Like, I get mad at myself in a way where like the inner talk becomes a little bit like aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I should be doing this thing. I should be being able to write this. I am my own worst critic, I think. I definitely can be pretty like over the top about like, oh, this song sucks, you know, this. I can be a bit much on that department. And I've been working. It's way better now. But like in the middle of like from when I started to now, I was so just like, I'm just gonna quit. You know, this sucks. Like, what's the point? Like that whole thing. And then I think that I write new songs, but I don't try them out live as much as I need to, because I have like 200 old songs. And like I have a number of old songs that people know and they have seemed to like. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll just play that for this show. And I'm really bad about being late for practices. That's the other thing, as you've seen today, as I was late here.
No worries. Cool. You kind of described this earlier, but how would you best describe the type of artist you are?
Dream pop, and then in like a general sense, just anything that seems fun. That's a description. I'm an artist who'll do anything that seems fun. So that's like, I mean, I've been doing stand-up lately because I was like, that seems fun and I like it, so why not? And it's a nice way of expressing myself more honestly, and also honestly in a sort of, oh, here are the things that are problems in my life and maybe in the world, and honestly in that the thing I want to do most, as I said earlier, is like laugh, you know. And even if I don't make people laugh, it's like, I thought it was funny, so whatever, you know, like it's, you can get whatever you want from it, but I'm just trying to, you know, be honest about this thing and not be in my room sitting and stewing over something, you know.
Right. So you've gotten into comedy?
I have, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's really new, and I started like maybe 8 months ago now, and I've gotten to the point, basically this thing happened. The reason, or I guess this was like the defining moment in my comedy career, quote unquote, the 8 months, my storied career. The reason I stayed doing comedy, and like now I think, okay, fuck it, like let's just have fun. Well, it's this one time I got detained in London. I spent like $1,000 on this trip, and I get there, I'm supposed to meet my friends, and this flight attendant, or not flight attendant, but TSA agent is like racist. And she's super, or anti-American or something, and she's like, hey, go sit over there, all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I was being super nice, and I sit down, and I get back up, and they're like looking at my ID and laughing, and I get back up, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, did I do something wrong? And she says, like, you need to get out of my face, like you're being aggressive, and I absolutely wasn't. And her partner was like, you know, he's not really doing anything, and coworker rather, and she's like, go sit in the back. And then I say, what am I, Rosa Parks? And I start laughing, and then her coworker starts laughing, so I sit back in the front. And then of course I ended up not being able to get into London, so I fly back. I'm in my room, and I'm like, I'm gonna go do stand-up tonight, you know. I didn't get to go on this trip. I was gonna go to Paris, I'm gonna see, you know, Europe, whatever. I'm gonna go do stand-up about this. So on the flight, I was also writing jokes about it. I get on stage, bomb. I die on stage. Like no laughs, just horrible. I get off stage, next guy is just making fun of my set. He didn't even do his set. He just makes fun of my set. So I get back home, I sit down on my bed, and I just start crying. And I was like, but man, that's funny though. Like the fact that I could have this like horrible experience, fly back like 10 hours, you know, from London to LA, and then LA back to Nashville. So like 10 hours in total. And then just to have my jokes about this horrible experience not go over one, and then be made fun of too, and then me still be able to laugh at it. I was like, now I'm gonna stick with this thing. Like now it's fun.
Nice. Yeah. It's all funny.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. It's all funny.
Yeah. You can understand things so much more deeply if you can just laugh at it, or be like, ain't that something?
It's really the thing, dude. Like, I mean, there's so much stuff where, you know, being actively mean isn't funny, but I think so when something happens and somebody responds in a mean way, it's like, damn, that's crazy that you responded that way. Like, then that's funny. That's how I was middle school, high school, like the college, like somebody would be like, I asked this person one time in high school, I was like, are you bullying me? I was like, what is it, 1992? Like, you're bullying me now? Like, I just think that's such an insane idea. Just actively being like, hey, you're weaker and smaller than me, so now I'm going to be mean to you because of it. Or like, I get made fun of at my house and in other places, so I'm going to be mean. Like, just, I don't know. Anyway, I had no point there, I guess.
No, I understand. So I know you played with some other artists, and we might talk about this a little bit, but you played with like Snail Mail and some other groups.
Yeah, this was now several years ago, many. But yeah, Snail and Soccer Mommy for almost one show. I didn't even play this show. I like practiced only with Date Night. And like my friend Carmen Canedo, one of my favorite artists. I've played with her for a few years now. And yeah, there's some that, just one-off shows and stuff like that with people like, hey, I need a drummer type thing. So it's been fun to just like bounce around, especially bouncing around genres. That's been like the most fun thing.
Nice.
I'm trying to get into more punk stuff right now, so we'll see.
Yeah. Gotta have the fast lane.
Gotta have the fast lane, dude. That's the life I'm trying to live. Yeah.
So cool. I know you said you've lived here most of your life, and you lived somewhere else, but what has like initially kept you here?
Honestly, just like ease of access. If you want to play a show, there are shows happening here. There are great people playing. I mean, so many of like my favorite bands right now are here, so it's like it's just really nice. I just like to be around people who are great, and that the only reason I really want to move is because I need change, because I don't want to be stagnant or anything, but it's not because of the people. I really love the people here, so that's been the biggest thing.
Cool.
And my family's here too, or like my mom and dad and my sister are here, so
yeah. What would you say is something you've learned living here?
What have I learned living here? Uber drivers are gonna call you a unicorn. You're gonna play a show that nobody comes to because you've played at that venue for like the last 4 years. Everybody is really sweet, and people just want to like make things that are new. And I'm one of those people. That's my synopsis of what I've gotten, And also that the change that happens is both frustrating and good. It can be frustrating in a, displacement sense when it comes to like neighborhoods that are historic, but also in a sense where people who come here who I've met who are new, i.e. or for college, whether it be for college or for work or for anything, a lot of them have been really great. So that change is the one that I try to focus on.
Yeah. Innovation, culture comes here rapidly.
Yeah, that's true.
We have the largest Kurdish population in America.
Oh yeah, no, it's true.
It's like there's all little sects of this city.
There are so many zones that people have yet to discover. I mean, I've met people who are like, oh yeah, I've been to Green Hills and I've been downtown and I've been in Hillsborough Village, and that's basically it. And it's like, go on Nolensville and just, go to Antioch. Just get an immersion into a culture you don't know or you refuse to know.
Right.
It's just figure out, and not just like, don't go just like, oh, I'm going to go get a taco or something like that. Like, go be around people who aren't like you. That's just, that's the point of life anyway.
Definitely. Okay, cool. What is some advice you would give to someone who's going to move here and do art?
I would say meet people and be really, not cautious, that sounds a little bit too like threatening or something, but just be like, really have some what's that phrase? Just know how someone may act like in your life, and if they have some of those same traits, either avoid or accept them. Like, if you know that a person saying like, oh yeah, no, I don't think that this band is good or this band is good, they're a person who's like a hater, or basically is what I'm saying, then avoid them. And if you know somebody like, I don't know, who's like like Jess O, like who just always is like, oh, I just want people to, you know, be comfortable, and also my music is good. You know, I think that looking for people and seeing their genuineness is the smartest thing for people to do who are moving here, because it's hard. Even moving back is kind of like there's a weird learning curve where I'm like, who are these people? Like, but I mean, it's great. And a lot of my friends now are from people who are like from out of town, or, you know, have moved here for college or for work. And it's just aligning yourself with people who want to support your art and not like support some sort of negative, I don't know, just like people who support you. That's really it. That's just find people who can support you. Yeah.
What is your biggest personal growth from last year to this year?
I don't know if I had one. I think the biggest would probably be, I think that it would be using situations that were negative, and I was, you know, for a moment sort of like stewing in and being like, oh, this is the worst thing, and then making fun of that. And then not in a way where I'm just like, oh, I'm the worst, but like where I'm actually making fun of it. I'm like, this happens to everybody. You know, every day is not a love story, you know, every day. It's just, it happens, it's life. So understanding that in a way that's not me like being mad at couples on the street or something like that. Like it's me being like, oh, let's have fun with this. Like, let's just grow from it. And it's helped me, you know, to sort of develop a new understanding or sort of recontextualize relationships and situations that I've been and feelings that I've had.
Yeah, learning to not take it personally, or knowing that someone else has their issue they're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Taking into all those things into consideration helps you become more empathetic, because then, it could be something I don't know about, or, you know.
And it could be something that you know so well, and could also be like, you're the thing. And it's like, if that's the case, then it's, you can be angry all you want, but it's like, or you could just like be a different person. Like, you could just like change what the thing is that's, you know, unappealing.
Right.
Or, you know, forcing one to move on. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to do. I mean, I'm not a success story by any sense of the imagination, but I'm definitely trying. And it's fun to try.
Yeah. Cool. So, changing topics here, how do you consume media now, like YouTube?
Yeah, it's so funny. So, as I said earlier too, like watching those like baby videos and dads coming back from war and stuff, I'll watch that, and then I'll watch like, you know, Maria Mendo, like the most horrific steward of or guard in like the Holocaust. You know, like I watch this really dark stuff, and that's something I've been trying to fix, because I bounce, so I do the whole thing, you know, and I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, watch too much SNL, watch too many Russian movies. Weirdly enough, like, I don't know. It's nice to bounce around, but it kind of makes me confused when I'm like in everyday life, and I'm like, what did I do today? Like, what was I consuming? Like, why did I choose this to consume? So, yeah, mostly on YouTube. I mean, a lot of HBO, a lot of like Curb Enthusiasm, and Barry and stuff like that. You know, just stuff that makes me laugh and stuff that makes me cry. That's basically it.
Yeah. Larry David.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get better than that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, cool. Is there anything that you would like to add that I might not have asked you about?
No, I you know, hey, it's funny, you know, album on the way, but I don't know when. So, but no, I've been working on that, and that's good. And I'm just glad to have finally done this. You know,
yeah.
It's been a couple months in the making for sure.
Heck yeah! All right. What is something absurd you'll ever do?
Oh man, the amount of absurd stuff that I do. Let's see, what's the most? I couldn't even say. Oh, I would say the most absurd thing that I do right now is that I'll just buy a ticket to a place. Like, if somebody's like, hey, I'm in this place, I'm in this city or whatever, I'll just buy a ticket that day, no plan, nowhere to stay. I'm like, yeah, I'm coming. And then I just fly there. And then I'm not even surprised, but I shouldn't be surprised, rather. But I'm surprised. I'm like, oh, man, I don't have a place to stay. And now I'm in, I don't know, Saskatchewan or something, like, and I'm just kind of like walking around. But it's fun, it's always exciting trying to figure out where your shelter's going to be.
Where's the most extreme place you've gone at the drop of a hat?
I would say, oh, definitely. There was just one time, I was working for this guy, and I waited for a long time to get paid. I was like, no, let's put it off. And then when I got paid, it was obviously a lot of money. So I'd already, paid my rent, like, done all that stuff. I was like, I just kind of have this money now. So that day, I bought a ticket to LA, and I went to LA and then visited my sister, and then took the train up to like Santa Monica, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and then like came back down. I was gonna fly to Portland, and then I nobody, I can't see this obviously, but I lifted my glasses by the bridge of them at the airport at LAX, and they broke in half. So I bought a bunch of adhesive, bought glue, all this stuff. Couldn't fix them, so I had to fly home. It was a bummer. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome, dude. Well,
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you again for coming over and doing this.
No, this was great, man. It's funny how much I've heard my own voice. It's more than I usually do. So I'm glad to. But these are great questions, also. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Thank you for taking the time to answer them.
Absolutely.